My name is Liam, and I am a 29-year-old woman living in the middle of the crowded and noisy streets of New York City. People often give me a funny look when I tell them my name is Liam because they expect a man to walk through the door, but my parents were always a little bit unconventional and liked the idea of a girl having a strong and traditional name. I have grown to love it over the years because it makes me stand out in a city where everyone is trying to be someone special. I work as a junior marketing manager for a firm that handles luxury brands, which means my life is a constant cycle of high-pressure deadlines and expensive events that I can barely afford to be at, but have to attend for work purposes. I have lived in New York City for nearly a decade now, and I thought I had seen every kind of person this concrete jungle had to offer until I met Julian. Julian was the kind of man who could walk into a room and make the air feel like it was vibrating with energy. He was tall and handsome with a smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the world who mattered at that moment. We met at a rooftop gallery opening in Chelsea about 2 years ago, and for the first 6 months of our relationship, I truly believed I had found the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. He was charming and attentive, and he always seemed to know exactly what to say to make me feel beautiful. However, looking back, I can see that those early months were just a carefully constructed performance designed to reel me in. I am a giver by nature, and I love to take care of the people I care about. I find joy in seeing my loved ones happy, and Julian took full advantage of that quality from the very beginning. As our relationship progressed, the charming version of Julian began to fade away and was replaced by someone who was cold and demanding and incredibly ungrateful. We entered what I now realize was the devalue stage of his cycle. He started to treat me like I was an inconvenience rather than a partner. He would make snide comments about my appearance or my job, and he would constantly compare me to other women he saw on social media. The worst part was how he treated me when we went out to eat. Julian had a very expensive palate, but he rarely had the bank account to match it, so he would often expect me to pick up the tab. He would order the most expensive items on the menu, like Wagyu beef and aged scotch, and multiple appetizers that he would barely touch, while I would stick to a simple salad or a side dish to save money. He would justify this by saying that he was going through a hard time at work, or that he would pay me back later, but the money never seemed to find its way back to my account. As his 30th birthday approached, I decided that I wanted to do something truly spectacular for him, because I thought that maybe, if I showed him how much I loved him, he would go back to being the man I first met. I spent months saving every extra penny I had from my paychecks, and I even took on some freelance graphic design work on the side to make extra cash. I planned a week-long celebration that was supposed to culminate in a massive birthday dinner at his favorite restaurant, which is an incredibly exclusive French spot in Midtown that usually requires a reservation months in advance. I spent hours on the phone with the restaurant manager to make sure everything was perfect, and I even ordered a custom cake that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Along with the dinner, I had purchased several high-end gifts that he had been dropping hints about for months. I bought him a designer leather briefcase for his work meetings and a luxury watch that I knew he wanted to show off to his friends, and even a pair of high-end noise-canceling headphones for his commute. I had spent nearly $5,000 in total, which was an astronomical amount of money for me, but I told myself it was worth it because I loved him. But as the week of his birthday arrived, Julian became even more unbearable. He was constantly picking fights with me over nothing, and he would go hours without responding to my text messages. When he did speak to me, it was only to complain about how I was not doing enough for him or how I was stressing him out with my constant questions about his birthday plans. The breaking point came 2 days before his birthday. We were sitting in my apartment, and I was trying to show him the menu for the restaurant so we could decide on a wine pairing, but he just pushed his phone away and told me that I was being annoying and that he did not even know if he wanted to spend his birthday with someone as boring as me. He looked me right in the eyes and told me that he felt like he was settling by being with me and that he deserved someone who actually understood his worth. Then he packed a small bag and walked out of my apartment saying he needed space and that the relationship was over. I was absolutely devastated, and I spent the next 24 hours crying on my couch and wondering what I had done wrong to deserve such cruelty. I felt like a failure, and I felt so incredibly stupid for spending all that money and effort on a man who clearly did not care about me at all. But as the shock began to wear off, a new feeling started to bubble up inside of me, and that feeling was pure and unadulterated rage. I realized that Julian had spent months devaluing me and using me for my money and my kindness, and I was not going to let him get away with it. He thought he could just discard me right before his big birthday celebration and still reap the benefits of all my hard work and planning. He probably expected me to leave the gifts on his doorstep and keep the reservation so he could go with someone else, but he was dead wrong. I looked at the piles of beautifully wrapped boxes sitting on my dining table, and I realized I still had the receipts for everything. I also realized that the restaurant reservation was in my name and had been secured with my credit card. That was the moment I decided to take my power back. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose that I had not felt in a long time. I grabbed all of the gifts and put them into large shopping bags, and I spent the entire afternoon traveling across Manhattan to return every single item. I went to the high-end department store where I had bought the briefcase, and the watch and the sales clerk looked a little surprised when I told her I wanted a full refund, but she processed it without any issues. I watched the numbers on the screen as the thousands of dollars were credited back to my account, and I felt a massive weight lifting off my shoulders. I then went to the electronics store to return the headphones, and then I even called the bakery to cancel the custom cake. The baker was understanding and managed to give me a partial refund since they had not started the final decorations yet. By the time I got home, I had recovered almost all of the money I had spent, and I felt like a completely different person. But the best part of my plan was still to come. I called my younger sister, Ava, who is my best friend and the person who has seen me cry over Julian more times than I care to admit. Ava is a hard-working teacher who rarely gets to treat herself to anything fancy, and I told her to clear her schedule for the following evening because we were going out for a night she would never forget. I told her the whole story of the breakup and my plan for revenge, and she was more than happy to participate. On the night that was supposed to be Julian's 30th birthday celebration, Ava and I got dressed up in our finest clothes, and we headed to the restaurant in Midtown. When we arrived, the hostess greeted us warmly and led us to a prime table in the center of the dining room. It was the exact table I had requested months ago because it had the best view of the city skyline. I could not help but smile as I sat down and looked at the menu. This was the place Julian had talked about for years, and he had been dropping hints for months that this was where he wanted to go for his big day. He had even mentioned specific dishes he wanted to try, like the truffle risotto and the roasted duck. As the waiter approached our table, I felt a surge of excitement. For the first time in a long time, I did not have to worry about the bill or about Julian complaining that I was not ordering enough food. I looked at Ava and told her to order whatever she wanted and that nothing was off limits. We started with 2 glasses of the most expensive champagne on the list, and we toasted to my newfound freedom and to the fact that I was finally done with a man who did not deserve a second of my time. We ordered the tuna tartare and the seared scallops for appetizers, and they were absolutely incredible. Every bite was a reminder that I was worth more than the scraps of affection Julian had been giving me. For the main course, we both decided to go all out, and we ordered the lobster tails and the prime rib, and we shared several side dishes, including the creamed spinach and the garlic mashed potatoes. We ate until we were completely full, and we laughed and talked about all the things we wanted to do in the future. It was the best meal I had ever had, not just because the food was delicious, but because the company was actually worth my time. My sister kept telling me how proud she was of me for standing up for myself, and it made me realize how much I had neglected my own happiness while I was trying to please Julian. Throughout the dinner, I made sure to take plenty of photos. I took pictures of the beautiful plates of food and the sparkling glasses of champagne, and I even had the waiter take a picture of Ava and me smiling and looking fabulous at our table. I wanted to make sure that there was a digital record of just how much fun we were having. I knew that Julian would be checking my social media because he was the type of person who could not stand to be ignored. He probably thought I was at home crying and eating ice cream while he was out celebrating with his friends, but I wanted him to see that I was doing just fine without him. After dinner, we even ordered the most decadent chocolate dessert on the menu, and lingered over our coffee for another hour just soaking in the atmosphere. When the bill finally came, I paid it with a smile on my face, because for the first time I was spending my money on someone who actually appreciated it and on myself. When I got home that night, I felt a sense of peace that I had not felt in years. I went onto my social media profile, and I changed my profile picture to the photo of Ava and me at the restaurant. In the photo, we are both holding up our champagne glasses and laughing, and the background clearly shows the iconic interior of Julian's favorite restaurant. I did not tag him or mention him in the caption because I wanted the picture to speak for itself. I knew that he would recognize the place instantly and that he would realize exactly what had happened. I then went through my phone and officially blocked his number and all of his social media accounts. I made a promise to myself that I would remain in a state of no contact with him forever because there was no way I was ever going to let that man back into my life. I knew that he was probably livid when he saw that photo. He was likely sitting at some dive bar with his friends or staying in his messy apartment, realizing that he had missed out on the birthday of a lifetime because he chose to be a jerk. He had lost a woman who would have moved mountains for him, and he had also lost a $5,000 birthday experience. The poetic justice of it all was just too perfect. Over the next few days, I felt a little bit of a lingering sadness as I processed the end of the relationship, but it was mostly overshadowed by the feeling of empowerment. I realized that Julian had tried to break my spirit and make me feel small so that he could feel big, but his plan had backfired completely. By trying to devalue me, he had actually shown me my own value. I started taking that money I had returned, and I put it into a high-yield savings account for a down payment on a place of my own one day. I also started going to therapy to work through the patterns that led me to stay with someone like Julian for so long, and it has been incredibly eye-opening. I am learning how to set boundaries and how to recognize the red flags of a narcissist before I get too deeply involved. My sister and I have started a new tradition where we go out for a nice dinner once a month, just the two of us, to celebrate our bond and to remind ourselves that we do not need anyone else to make us feel special. As for Julian, I heard through a mutual friend a few weeks later that he was absolutely furious when he saw my profile picture. Apparently, he had tried to call the restaurant to see if he could still use the reservation for himself and a friend, but they told him it had already been used by the person who made it. He was also complaining to anyone who would listen that I was being petty and that I had stolen his birthday from him. When I heard that, I just laughed because it only confirmed that I had made the right decision. He did not see his own behavior as the problem, but instead saw my reaction as the issue. That is the classic sign of someone who will never change. I am now 3 months out from the breakup, and I have never felt better. I have lost weight from the stress leaving my body, and I have been performing better at work because I am no longer distracted by the constant drama of my personal life. I even got a small promotion and a raise, which felt like the universe's way of rewarding me for finally standing up for myself. I still look at that picture of me and Ava at the restaurant sometimes when I need a reminder of my own strength. It represents the moment I decided that I was no longer going to be a doormat for someone else's ego. I am 29 years old, and I am living in the greatest city in the world, and I have my whole life ahead of me. I do not need a man like Julian to define me or to tell me what I am worth. I have everything I need right here within myself and with the people who actually love me for who I am. I know that the road to recovery from a toxic relationship is not always easy, but I am taking it one day at a time, and I am enjoying the journey. Every time I walk past that French restaurant in Midtown, I give a little secret smile to myself because I know that it was the site of my greatest victory. It was the place where I finally stopped giving and started taking back what was mine. And that is the best birthday gift I could have ever given myself. The memory of that meal still lingers in my mind, not just because of the exquisite flavors of the food, but because of the deep sense of satisfaction that came with every bite. I remember the way the light caught the bubbles in my champagne glass and the way my sister's laughter filled the space between us. It was a night of reclaiming my identity. I had spent so much of my 2 years with Julian trying to mold myself into the person he wanted me to be. I had dimmed my own light to make him feel brighter, and I had shrunk my own needs to make room for his massive ego. That dinner was the first time in a very long time that I allowed myself to take up space and to enjoy the fruits of my own labor. I also realized during that meal that I had been neglecting my relationship with Ava. She had been there through every high and low, and she had seen the way Julian treated me even when I tried to hide it. Taking her to that dinner was my way of saying thank you for her unwavering support. It was a way of centering my life around the people who actually matter. The financial aspect of the revenge was also incredibly satisfying. Having that $5,000 back in my bank account felt like a physical weight had been lifted off my chest. I had worked so hard for that money, and the thought of it being spent on a man who did not even respect me was sickening. Now that money is serving a purpose for my future instead of being wasted on someone else's vanity. I have started looking at small apartments in Brooklyn that I might be able to buy in a few years, and having that head start on my savings makes the dream feel much more attainable. I have also become much more conscious of how I spend my time and energy. I no longer feel the need to jump through hoops to please people who do not show me the same level of care. I have learned that my kindness is a gift, and it should be reserved for those who are worthy of it. My friends have noticed a change in me too. They say I seem more confident and more at peace. I no longer spend our girls' nights talking about Julian and his latest drama. Instead, I talk about my goals and my career and the new hobbies I have picked up like pottery and long-distance running. It is amazing how much energy you have when you are not constantly trying to fix a broken person. I think about the devalue stage often, and I realize now that it was never about me. Julian's need to put me down was a reflection of his own insecurities and his own inability to be happy. He needed to make me feel small so that he could feel powerful, but in the end, he was the one who ended up with nothing. He lost a partner who was loyal and hard-working and generous, and he lost the respect of anyone who knows the true story of our breakup. I have heard that he is already dating someone new, and a part of me feels sorry for her because I know exactly what she is in for. She is probably in the love bombing stage right now, where he is telling her she is the most amazing woman he has ever met, but I know that the mask will eventually slip just like it did with me. I hope that when it does, she has the strength to walk away sooner than I did. But for now, I am just focused on my own path. I am enjoying the quiet moments in my apartment and the busy days at work and the fun nights out with my sister. I am learning to love my own company and to realize that being single is a million times better than being with the wrong person. I am Liam, and I am 29 years old, and I am the hero of my own story. The revenge I took was not just about the restaurant or the gifts, it was about reclaiming my life and my self-respect. And that is a victory that no one can ever take away from me. I remember the walk home after that dinner very clearly. The air was crisp, and the city was buzzing with its usual nighttime energy, but I felt a strange sense of stillness inside. I walked past the glowing storefronts of Fifth Avenue, and I did not feel the need to buy anything to fill a void. I felt full. I felt complete. When I finally reached my apartment, I looked around at the space that was now entirely mine. No more of Julian's half-empty coffee mugs on the table, and no more of his shoes scattered in the hallway. No more waiting up for a text that was never going to come or bracing myself for a critique of my outfit. I sat on my bed and just breathed in the silence. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever heard. The next morning, I went to my favorite local coffee shop, and the barista who knows me well asked why I looked so happy. I just told her that I had finally let go of something that was holding me back. She gave me a free cookie and told me I deserved it. It was a small moment, but it felt like another sign from the universe that I was on the right track. I spent that Saturday morning cleaning my entire apartment from top to bottom. I scrubbed the floors and washed the windows and donated several bags of clothes and items that reminded me of Julian. I wanted to clear out all of the old energy to make room for the new. I even bought myself a bouquet of fresh lilies because I love the way they smell, and I do not need a man to buy them for me. As I was cleaning, I found a small note Julian had written me during our first month of dating. It was full of sweet words and promises of a future together. A few months ago, that note would have made me cry, but now it just felt like a piece of fiction. It was a script written by a man who knew how to play a part, but did not know how to be a person. I threw it in the trash without a second thought. My sister called me later that afternoon to check in, and we laughed again about the look on the waiter's face when we ordered the second bottle of champagne. She told me that she had never seen me look so vibrant as I did in that profile picture. I told her it was because for the first time I was not looking at myself through Julian's eyes. I was seeing myself for who I really am. I am a woman who is capable of great love, but I am also a woman who has a backbone of steel. I think that is what Julian underestimated about me. He thought my kindness was a weakness, but he did not realize that it takes a lot of strength to be kind in a world that can be so cruel. And he certainly did not realize that once that kindness is gone, there is no getting it back. I am also making sure to take care of my physical health. I have started cooking healthy meals for myself at home, and I find it to be a very therapeutic process. There is something very satisfying about chopping vegetables and creating something nourishing from scratch. It is a form of self-care that I completely ignored while I was with Julian because I was too busy making sure he was fed and happy. Now I am the one who is being nourished. I have also started a journal where I write down 3 things I am grateful for every single day. Most days, one of those things is the fact that I am no longer in a relationship with a narcissist. It is a constant reminder of how far I have come and how much I have to look forward to. I know that there will be days when I feel lonely or when I miss the version of Julian that I thought existed, but I also know that those feelings are just temporary. The reality of who he is will always be enough to keep me from ever looking back. I have even started to think about what I want in a future partner, although I am in no rush to find one. I want someone who is kind and humble and who values my time as much as I value theirs. I want someone who will celebrate my successes instead of being threatened by them. But most of all, I want someone who realizes that being with me is a privilege, not a right. I know that I have a lot to offer, and I am not going to settle for anything less than I deserve ever again. My experience with Julian was a painful lesson, but it was a necessary one. It taught me that you cannot fix someone who does not want to be fixed, and you cannot love someone into being a good person. It also taught me that the most important relationship I will ever have is the one I have with myself. I am proud of the way I handled the breakup and the revenge. It was not about being mean or spiteful, it was about standing up for what was fair. Julian had taken so much from me, and I was just taking back what was mine. The restaurant dinner was the perfect way to close that chapter of my life. It was a celebration of my freedom and a reminder that I am worth the best things in life. I am now looking forward to the future with a sense of excitement and curiosity. I do not know what the next year will bring, but I know that I will be the one in the driver's seat. I am no longer living my life for someone else, and that is the most empowering feeling in the world. I am Liam, and I am a 29-year-old woman living in New York City, and I am doing just fine. Better than fine, actually. I am thriving. I sometimes think about the fact that Julian is probably still out there trying to find his next victim, and it makes me feel a little bit of sadness for whoever she is. But then, I remember that we all have our own journeys to go through. Maybe she will be like me, and she will find her strength sooner than I did. Or maybe she will need to go through the whole process to learn the same lessons. Either way, it is not my problem anymore. I have officially washed my hands of him and his toxic cycle. I am moving on to bigger and better things. My career is taking off. My relationships with my friends and family are stronger than ever, and I am finally comfortable in my own skin. I have even started planning a solo trip to Italy for my own 30th birthday next year. I am going to spend 2 weeks eating pasta and drinking wine and exploring the beautiful countryside. And the best part is that I will not have to worry about anyone else's needs or complaints. It will be a trip that is entirely for me. I am already saving up for it, and I know it will be an experience I will never forget. It is funny how life works out sometimes. I thought that Julian's birthday was going to be the highlight of my year, but it turned out that the aftermath of his birthday was the real highlight. It was the catalyst for my own personal growth and the start of a whole new chapter. I am grateful for the experience in a strange way because it made me realize how strong I actually am. I am no longer the girl who cried on the couch because she felt like she was not good enough. I am the woman who returned the gifts and ate the lobster and posted the picture. I am the woman who took her power back. And that is the best revenge of all. I have noticed that I even walk differently now. My head is held high and I look people in the eye. I am no longer trying to hide or make myself smaller. I am proud of who I am and what I have accomplished. I know that New York City can be a tough place to live, but I also know that it is a place where you can reinvent yourself whenever you need to. I have reinvented myself as someone who is strong and independent and completely over the past. I am looking forward to seeing what else I can achieve now that I am not being weighed down by a toxic relationship. The world feels like it is full of possibilities, and I am ready to explore every single one of them. I am Liam, and I am a 29-year-old woman, and I am exactly where I am supposed to be. The story of me and Julian is officially over, and the story of me is just beginning. I am ready for whatever comes next because I know I can handle it. I have already proven that to myself. And as I sit here today writing this out, I can honestly say that I have no regrets. Not about the money I spent or the time I lost, because all of it led me to this moment of clarity. I am free, and I am happy, and I am the most authentic version of myself that I have ever been. And that is the ultimate victory. I hope that by sharing my story, I can inspire other women who might be in a similar situation to realize their own worth. You do not have to accept treatment that makes you feel small. You do not have to be a doormat for someone else's ego. You have the power to change your situation and to take back your life. It might be scary at first, but I can promise you that the view from the other side is absolutely worth it. So here is to the givers and the kind souls and the people who love with everything they have. May you always remember that your kindness is a superpower, and may you always have the strength to use it on yourself first. I am signing off now to go enjoy the rest of my beautiful life in the city that never sleeps. I have a dinner reservation with my sister tonight, and I cannot wait to see what is on the menu. Life is good, and I am finally the one in control. And that is the end of my story, but really it is just the beginning. I feel like I am finally breathing air that is clean and fresh and full of promise. I am ready for the next adventure, and the next meal, and the next moment of joy. I am Liam, and I am thriving in New York City. The city lights are shining bright, and for the first time they are shining for me. I am no longer a supporting character in someone else's drama. I am the lead in my own life, and I love the way the script is looking. The revenge was sweet, but the life I have built since then is even sweeter. I am done with the past, and I am walking boldly into the future. It feels incredible. The sun is setting over the Hudson River, and the sky is a beautiful shade of pink and orange. I am standing on my small balcony looking out at the city I love, and I feel a deep sense of contentment. I am exactly where I need to be, and I am exactly who I want to be. And that is the greatest revenge of all. The silence of the apartment is a soft song of peace, and I am finally listening to it. My phone buzzed earlier with a notification, but I did not even look at it right away because I was too busy watching the sky change colors. I am living in the present moment, and it is a beautiful place to be. I am Liam, and I am whole, and I am happy. The end of my story with Julian was the beginning of my true life. I am grateful for the strength I found, and the sister who stood by my side, and the lobster dinner that started it all. I am moving forward with a light heart and a clear mind. The world is big, and I am ready to see all of it. I am no longer afraid of the dark because I have learned how to create my own light. And that is a lesson I will carry with me forever. I am Liam, and I am enough. I am more than enough. I am everything I ever needed to be. And that is the final truth.